Hey traders, John Howell here. So today, bit of a current market update for you guys, what's happening right now across the board. And the first thing I really want to sort of guide you through is there's a lot of powerful momentum behind the bullishness of these stock markets. And it blows my mind away by people trying to call a top right now. If you've been watching my YouTube videos for the last couple of weeks, you know that I've been saying that we get ready for a big move to the upside, and we're already getting that. The S&P is just 1% away from all-time new highs. So please don't be calling a top, okay? There's nothing here to say there's a top in place at all. Now, the big thing here is the first few things here. You can see what actually happened today. Small little update today on the S&P 500. You can see how and ever since we actually had this move on the downside, we're actually been coming up. Here's a 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5 up days here, and we're almost at another all-time new high. And once we do get that, we're about to see a really crazy move from there. So this is the short term. We're getting like this is like a bit of a V bottom short-term bounce on the S&P. We can see here we've had a move down, and now we've had a move right back up as well too. So that's like a bit of a V bottom short term there, on that level from there. Now, you'll notice my top charts up here. These are my weekly charts here. You'll notice a few things here. The first thing is you'll notice that we can actually see that this whole resistance through here, which is that point through there, is now becoming support. You can see it all. That level right there is right there, and obviously right there as well too, right? This is just squeezing a little bit more. So there's a major weekly resistance that's been here for a long time, and it's clearly acting as support right now, and it's bouncing off very strongly. So that's actually showing that this weekly resistance is now becoming very strong support in the markets. So not only are we getting a strong bounce off this level here, but we're getting a very strong bounce from that level there. And on top of all that, one thing you'll notice, and one thing, if I bring on, say, my weekly chart here, and I bring off one thing you'll notice here is, if you look at my weekly chart, this is a 24 moving average on my weekly chart, and you'll notice that whenever the moving average is trending up through there, trending up like that, guess what ends up happening? These little drops in the markets, drop is just a little pullback before the continuation. Pullback, continuation, pullback, continuation, pullback, continuation, pullback, continuation, up, pullback, continuation. So there is 3 major things that I've walked you through today to show you that there is so much. Or the first one was that little strong V bottom bounce today. We're getting a very strong bounce here today. The second one is the major resistance is now becoming clear support. Right through there. There we go. Right through there. You can see once again this whole level all through here. That whole level all through there is that major support level through there. You can see all this major resistance here. Now this is a weekly chart, by the way, right? A weekly chart. So it's actually had all these touches, and you can see it actually bounced off here for many months in a row before breaking down, coming down. Now we're finding it as support, and now we're pushing to the upside. So the first one here is a bit of a V bottom here, short term. Second one is major resistance here on the weekly chart. It's clearly now acting it as support all through here as well too. Third thing is the moving average. I use the moving average like a momentum indicator, and you can see here whenever we're in trending environments and we get the moving average coming up, there's a massive probability these little short-term corrections is just a short-term little correction for a few weeks, sometimes a few months, before the continuation. If the moving average is trending up like that, then there is a huge probability that the trend continues, and then maybe a 10-20% of the time we start to get the failing. Makes sense? But most of the time we get a continuation. As you can see here, 1 bounce, 2 bounce, 3 bounce, and then 4. So if you went short, you were wrong there, wrong there, wrong there, wrong there. So this is X, this is X, this is X, this is X, this gets a tick. So if you're trying to short the market. And then on top of all that, we're in a very strong bull market right now, where the market's making higher highs and now also higher lows in the markets here. And we're in a very strong trending environment from here. So there's everything screaming for this stock market to have a really big move to the upside. If I actually go back to this screenshot here and I squeeze this up through here, you can see, let me bring this up to here a bit more. I'm just going to show you this here. So you can actually see what's going on here. Right? Look at this here. So we can actually see, this is where like we've had this major resistance here. We had this major support level through here as well too. Now there's actually two different types of trend lines here that we have, okay? The first one is this major resistance through here. And now, but there is also a bit of a channel that's also forming in place right now, right? This level from here. And some of the traders in my YouTube comments, you may be one of them right now watching, you may be like, oh, John's saying there's a resistance line here, and therefore, you know, it's like John's saying the market's going to go up at a major resistance line. And I am saying that because we're holding here. Whenever the market holds here and we start to break up, then that's what happens through there, right? So there's a bit of a channel from there. But as you can see, this channel here is not as relevant. This line here is not as relevant as this line here. Why? I'm only using this one touch here, and now we have the touch where we are right now. But if I use this, if I move this out of the way, you can now see this line here not only had this touch, but it had another 1, 2, 3 more touches here before the current. So this one through here, yes, we have a bit of a channel in place, and there is a bit of a channel there. That's why I've always said that once we break above 7,000, which would be above this level here. Now, if you are looking at that though, and we actually do have that channel from there, right, and we are looking at that from there to there, if you see that, that's where, if I go back to my daily charts now, and if I go back to this level here, you can see where that level is through there, right? Let me bring this down to here, right? So somewhere through there, maybe even a bit higher. If I bring it up just maybe a little bit higher from there, right? Somewhere through there. You can see where we're at right now, right? That's that level from there. Point blank simply means this. If I bring this over to here, all right, let me go back to make sure the lines are set up correctly. Right, we can see here this is the major resistance level from here. What that simply tells you is this: yes, we're at resistance level now. There's a lot of momentum to the upside. Once we do break above this 7,000, we're breaking out of this top of this level from here. And once that happens, we're about to see some fireworks to the upside on the S&P 500 there. So that's that level from there. That's the reason why this major support level here is the most important. But the bottom line is, even drawing trend lines here, support, resistance lines, so on and so forth, stuff like that. The most important part is that we're very strongly to the upside, and there's a lot of momentum to the upside. And then when you start to use the support resistance lines, you know here clearly on this big long-term chart for the last, say, 5 years or 4 years, ever since this point here, we're clearly now testing it as support, and the market is clearly showing you it is bouncing off this level of support. So that resistance is now becoming support. And what happens when support, and what happens when resistance becomes support, right? What is that? Resistance breaks back up, comes support, and then away we go again. So we're getting ready for some really big moves here. The market's screaming that right now. The Russell as well too. Russell is again just very strong down and then up as well too, almost getting close to that new high as well too. Now the really interesting thing is the market gives us some warning signs about when things are going to change. Now what I mean by that is this: if I bring my weekly chart up here once again, what happens here is this: is that sometimes the market will channel like this, basically what it's been doing through here, as you can see. But then suddenly we start to get the market give us signs of now we're actually starting to trend. When there's through here, there's what? There's no trend, right? There's no trend all through here, no trend all through here. But what ends up happening is that when the market is ready to trend, and that's what eventually happens, right? Like with all these markets, the market will start to break out and give us some warning signs that it's ready to start to trend now and start to move and evacuate the building from here. And that is, the market will rally up, make a higher high, break out of it, and then it will come back down, test it as support, and then we start to trend. So if it hasn't been trending for many years, we get the higher high, then we break down, make the higher low, and then away we go as well too. This is exactly what happened with gold. If I show you the gold chart, just so I can show you a Big move in the metals today, right, guys? Big move in the metals today. But let me show you what I mean by here. This is exactly what gold did. Now remember, this is really powerful. This is all go down to trend analysis and how to read the trend. Sometimes when the market, once again, sometimes when the market's doing this here, there is no trend, right? There's no trend. There's just going sideways. And we go through this level from here, have a bit of resistance going on here, bit of there. But when the market's ready to start to trend, a lot of the times it'll break out. It'll break out to make a higher high, and then it will come back down to form a higher low. And then guess what? That's the start of the new trend. That's the start of the new trend. So I'll show you when this is, and this is what back in the day, back in start of 2024, I was really big into the gold move. And let me show you the reasons why, right? It's all the same, pretty much all the same thing, right? If I move this here, let me actually make this so it's really thick so you can see what I'm looking at here. Now, what did we have here? So we had a what? We had a channel, as you can see, right? We had a bit of a channel going on through there, all through here. But what ended up, look what ended up happening. So we had this resistance here, resistance, and then it broke up. See how it actually made this ultimate high point up here? Even if you're looking at the wicks, made a higher high, didn't it? Then it came back down, higher low. See how this was the start here because it broke out? So you have channeling, not much going on. But when the market starts to show you that it wants to start to actually trend, because when the market hasn't been trending for a couple of years, eventually it'll start to break out and then it'll start the trend. When it does, we start to get the breakout to higher high. This is a weekly chart. Breaks down, higher low, and then away we go from there. And as you can see, ever since then, that's when silver was at 2,000 basically, and we've had this really big move to the upside on gold from there. So this is way markets truly work, right? So when we're looking at the Russell chart here once again, and we're bringing this down to here, look what we actually have with the Russell chart, right? We clearly we had this support resistance, they were all through there, probably through there. But look what's happening now. We're starting to We're starting to get the change of the tune. And if I bring this down to here, you'll be able to see this here and this here as well too. So what are we getting through here? Yeah, we bring this down to here, right there, right? So what are we getting through here? We're getting what? We're getting this major resistance now, and we broke out to make this higher high. This is now a clear higher high through here. Now it's coming down to bounce off it through here. Once we break above this new highs, that is now clearly what? Made high. Now this is a higher high up here. Now it's forming a higher low, and away we go. Now, on top of all of that with the Russell, this is why I'm saying, guys, if you guys are calling tops to the markets, this is screaming more bullishness from here. And not only that, remember I said before about the moving average, how I use the moving average. If I show you that and I go to the weekly chart, what's the moving average doing right now? Remember I said before about trending? Once we trend, there's a high probability these drops through here are just going to be short-term drops, and then away we go again from there. So that's the Russell and the S&P. Let's go look at, say, the Nasdaq as well. Nasdaq, just a really nice bounce from here as well too. You can see here as well, like one of the moving average that I like to use on my daily charts is the 52 moving average. And so let me actually blow this chart up here, and I'll show you this here. So whenever I squeeze my charts up from here, wherever the 52 moving average, on my daily charts, I use a 52, right? And as you can see here, right, this is the same thing here. The 52, see how the 52 is still trending up through there? This is still a lot of very powerful momentum behind it. So the Nasdaq is definitely getting a nice bounce from here, and you can see here with the 52, both the 52 and the 24 are trending up. So really nice, higher highs, higher lows, and really nice movement from there. We have the Dow Jones as well too, and the Dow Jones is now actually we had there was a bit of resistance there, wasn't there? As you can see, there was that resistance through there. Bit of resistance through there. It almost came down, found support, as you can see, and now we're continuing up. But one thing you'll notice about the Dow Jones is what? We're clearly still in a very strong upward trend, right? Low, high, low, high, low, high, low, low, and there's another slight little high low. That was the low there, and there's another slight high low. So it's still making very strong high lows. 52 is trending up, the 24 is trending up on my weekly charts. The resistance is now becoming support level through here, and away we go again from there. So all of this, what we're seeing right now with this level from here, is screaming more upside to come, and I believe this is where we're just getting started from here. There's still a lot of, and the interesting thing is there's still a lot of fear around where we are right now, but the market's pushing up to new highs. So there's a really big move coming out of the markets from here. And by the way, ever since me talking about this, I actually did get into positions from here. And if you know, about a few weeks ago, I actually started putting on positions on the SPY. When we actually got this drop from here, and the market's gone up ever since. My options are really starting to kick into play right now, so I'm actually nice positive territory already on my options from there. So things are moving really, really, really nicely for me. So that's the first thing I've been mentioning is about the strong move that's coming, and it's actually on its way right now. The next thing I talked about here was the silver chart. I started looking at silver. I thought silver and gold after the big drop from here. So if you actually look at this, is the silver chart from here. Big breakout with silver. I've started coming out after this drop from here. I did call the drop in the markets from here. So this is the drop through here. I thought we'd actually have a bit more of a time, more of a sideways before the next move, but looking at all my indicators, firstly the indicators is what? The same thing, right? It's the same thing. It's the higher lows through here. You can see my 52 moving average is trending strong through there. So once I started to realize that, I thought we'd get a lot more of a drop or a lot more of a sideways period. But then I realized I was wrong about how much we get a drop. I knew we were going to get a drop and we did, but I didn't know how much of a drop we get and how sideways. But when I started to realize that we're not going to get that, and there's probably going to be another move because we are still making these higher lows. We have higher lows, we have a major trend line through there and the 52 moving average, which if I just blow this chart up, as you can see here, look at this here, beautiful strong 52. I just knew we're getting ready for another move to the upside, and this is the reason why for the last week I've been saying I believe silver's going to break out. We're going to start to make a move up to around that $75 level from there. So silver's definitely breaking out strongly from here, and I think silver has another really big move to come from here. And one of the big things I was also saying, this is where the same for the indices, right guys? Now I was also saying here, if I bring this up from let me actually just bring this up here. One of the reasons why I want to bring this up to you guys is because that's the silver chart. Maybe let's go to the SLV here. Right, that's the SLV. Actually, you know what? Let's actually go to here. Let's actually go to here. Let me bring this. I want to show you this here because I think it's really important to understand. There's the same techniques apply to all these markets. It's interesting. Some people say, John, you can't use charts on these markets. It's like, as a trader, that's the only thing you can use. Now, remember I said before, these big weekly charts, when they start to provide these major resistance become support, we end up getting big moves. Remember I said before about the S&P 500, right? Where we are right now, very clear levels from there. But if you have a look what's going on now, look at this here. What is that through there? That there is what? This is the, let me sync in layout. So this is the weekly chart, resistance through there, resistance all through here. This is the major resistance back in the 80s, resistance. And this is also another reasons why I started flipping my tune from a month ago saying we're going to get a big drop. We did get the drop. It was actually almost 20, or close to like 17%. So we just still got a pretty big drop. But one thing I started to realize, and this is where for you guys, if you start to think something and it doesn't work out, you need to change your tune real quick. Otherwise, your ego is going to get you, you're going to lose a lot of money. That resistance level is what? Now becoming support. Remember I said before about the S&P as well too? So this whole level through here is what? That's that major support level now through there. And the reason why I started calling a $75 silver move is because that major resistance has now become support, and now we're pushing to the upside, higher lows all the way up. So this is really, 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 really strong from there. So that's what I'm seeing there from the good old silver market there. We're also seeing, so that's the SLV from there, silver breaking out. So I believe we could start to see them now move a nice move up to around that $75 level, maybe even 100. Silver could be getting ready for some really big moves. We're getting a bit more volume coming in today as well too, which is quite nice. We did get a nice little break up above that resistance level from there as well. So there's a lot of powerful momentum and everything that are kicking into play when it comes to the silver price from there. Looking at the gold price, gold is still just holding quite nicely from here. We are starting to slowly break out of this level from here, so this is really picking up quite nicely. And the same thing from the gold perspective as well too. If you have a look at the charts, I was expecting a bit more of a drop to the downside out of gold, but when I started to realize that all my moving averages, my momentum indicator, my trends, the trend indicator, which is the high lows, are still intact. High lows, lows, high lows, high lows, and the moving averages are still very strong. This is my 24 on my weekly charts. There's your 24 on your weekly chart. There's your 52 on my daily charts. Everything's still pushing strong to the upside. So we did get the actual correction, which we did, but I was wrong about thinking that we're actually going to get a lot more sideways. I still believe we're going to get that really big correction, but it looks like we've got one more big move to come out of the gold position from there. And again, that's the reason why, guys, for you guys have been watching now for the last few weeks, I've flipped my tune now on silver, and I did that a couple of weeks ago, saying that silver is now probably on its way to $75, and here we are, we're breaking out now. So from and the lessons I really want you to share with you from that perspective there is that if you ever think something but the market is clearly telling you something different, meaning like a lot of you guys are calling top in the stock market, but you're clearly seeing there's so much bullishness here in the markets here, then it's important to go with what the market is telling you. This is where like a lot of traders end up getting into a lot of trouble from there, as you can see from that there. A pretty strong bid around the mining sector as well too. So mining sector, same thing, really strong bid through here. That's the GDX and also SIL as well too. So really nice strong bid. People I'm actually very, very bullish gold, silver, and the mining sector overall, with the corrections that we're going to get as well too. So that's what I'm seeing there from there. And the last thing I really want to sort of share with you guys about something that people just don't sort of seem to understand, and there's this sort of stigma across the industry about right and wrong. You're right, I'm wrong, right, wrong. I want to share something with you, okay? The reason why I'm saying that is because people are looking at, I've been talking about TMF here, and there's this right and wrong around TMF. Now, the right and wrong around TMF is, John, you're wrong about TMF. Now, I want to share something with you. Do you know that even the most successful investors of all time, there's a portion of their portfolio that actually doesn't make money? You do know that, right? So you having this right and wrong mentality, like, oh, no, John, you're wrong about this. You're clearly wrong about this. And all I have to say to you is this, right? If you are saying that I'm wrong about TMF, my TMF trade is this. Over the next 12 months or so, we're likely to start to see a bit of a recession, like a very strong recessionary period. Through that, the Fed's already stopping QT and QE, which means what? Interest rates are likely to come down, especially when they're doing the QE, right? They're buying bonds, pushing rates down, doing the QE stuff, right? But not only that, but what happens in the next recession? What happens when we really go through the next big bang? And we know the next big bang is coming real soon, right? It's probably going to come in the next 1 to 2 years. I would say within the next 12 months. What's going to happen then, right? All rates come back down, right? Stimulus really picks back up. And then guess what happens there? TMF goes up, bond market goes up. So if you're saying that I'm wrong with TMF, you are saying that in the next recession of the next 1 to 2 years, that rates are not going to go down, rates are not going to get crushed again, which they are, right? That's what's going to happen. We do know that, right? We do know that's very, very simple. And that's what markets do, right? So what this is, it's not about getting it right now. It's not about getting in today and hoping it's going to go up tomorrow, which I know a lot of you guys are focusing on that. This is more like a position trade. A position trade is, okay, I know over the next 1 year, that rates are going to continue coming down and we're going to get a bond rally. It's just simple cycle analysis. And when that happens, right, now guess what? This may be happening, or we get a really big drop in rates overall in 6 months from now. Now, meaning here's the thing. People think 6 months from now, I've got to wait 6 months for this to happen. No, It's already happening right now, right? But as you can see, these things here, I actually have a target of 80 on TMF. Why? Because that's that next, and it's just simple cycle analysis, right, guys? Markets come down, we find the bottom. I know eventually, over the next, say, 1 year, we're going to rise to at least this level up here. Do you know what that level is? That's called 100% return on my investment of just buying that there. We're not talking about this thing going up to the moon. We're just talking about that's a 100% move. Now, that's buying it. I have bought it over the next, even if that thing takes 2 years to happen, right? You see what I'm saying here? So, and then also I have long-term options as well too. So when that happens, you're going to pick up 2, 3, 400% return on the options as well too. So that's the way you need to be thinking about. There's trades, and then there's expectations of the trade as well too. This trade here is more like I'm getting in now, and when this really does start to go through when things really do start to turn, and they may start to turn now, they may start to turn in January and February and March, where we really start to get a bid in the bond market. The rates really do start to come down, which are already coming down right now. When that happens, I'm not trying to time the markets. I just want to say, okay, I want to be in it. And whenever it does start, because I don't know when it's going to start or when it's going to happen, whenever it does start, I'm going to make a lot of money from there, from that perspective from there. So that's the whole positioning around the TMF. And some people are saying, John, you're wrong with TMF. And all I have to say to you is, once again, is what happens when we go through the next recession, which is coming real soon, right? Big QE, all rates come down. When that happens, guess what? Just like in 2020, what happened with rates? Big TMF rally. Same thing there, right? So again, right now we're at 40. All I'm looking for myself over the next, say, 1 to 2 years is for this thing to just go up to around about that 80 level up there, right? Which is that first line up there, by the way. That's that big picture there. Now, again, in the next recession, the bond market, the TMF market is probably going to get to maybe even 120, maybe even a lot higher. We may even have, there's even this level up through here around 160. So actually, we'll probably get that in the next recession. Once we go through the next really big bang that's coming real soon, right? Once we do that, we may even get something like that. We're probably going to get something like that. But do you see what I'm saying here? It's like, I personally, and we may get that in the next recession, because the rates are definitely going to get crushed again. See what I'm saying here? So this is not a timing thing. It's not. We don't know how it's going to play out. I'm just really confident over the next 1 to 2 years. I've actually got to say, with the next 12 months. In the next 12 months, things are going to really start to come to the surface of this level here. We're going to see a really big crash in the stock market. Not now. We need to melt up first. Especially, and then when that really happens, that's when that starts to really crack through the floor. Then you're really going to start to see bonds rally. So this may not be really successful until the second half of next year. But do I care? No. Why? Because I'm positioned for it, and once it does happen, I'm going to do really well from that trade. I just don't know when. So this is not a when; it's just a high probability that it is going to happen, and all that from there. So that's what I really wanted to share with you there today, traders. Traders, make sure you grab access. The first link in the description. I've put together a book on my wisdom for the last 20 years, and also wisdoms from like Jesse Livermore, W.D. Gann. There's a free book there. And also, if you're interested in joining my 1% club, where you're with me every single day, I've got a few spots left for 2026. It's a 1-year coaching program where you're with me every single day. If you're interested in that, there's a link in the description and for application. And I'll speak to you guys real soon.